Are you skeptical about the economy right now? Are you concerned about where it's going? Ultimately, I think if that's where you are, I don't think you're alone. I'm skeptical about what's going on right now in the economy. If you look around and you look at the crypto markets, the stock markets, what the Federal Reserve is doing, what the inflation rates are doing, the lack of wage growth, and ultimately the fact that there seems to be no rhyme or reason to what the markets seem to be doing week in, week out, month in, month out. And so that leads to a lot of uncertainty. So in this video, what I'm going to talk about is ultimately, if you are skeptical about the markets at this moment in time, what I am seeing and what I think you could potentially do to prepare yourself to take advantage of opportunity that's going to be coming down the pipeline. Because what I do know is you're either going to be able to take massive advantage and find just complete ultimate opportunities in this economy that we're coming into, or you're going to suffer through it. You're going to miss opportunity. And what I do know is you don't want to miss the opportunity that's going to be coming in these times. So let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? So let's just get into this and talk about, if you are skeptical about the economy right now, if you are worried about where things are going, and you are just filled with uncertainty, which most of the people in this world are. In fact, I'll tell you, if you don't have a healthy level of uncertainty in the market right now, I think you probably have an arrogance level that's a little too high. I don't think there's anybody in the world that really knows what's happening, what direction things are going to go. Maybe aside from like Jerome Powell and some of the higher ups there, that probably very few people have access to, right? And so when you look at what's been going on in the world right now, with this with this skepticism, and just the economy. We have the FTX crash right now. We have Gemini today has slowed down or suspended withdrawals, right? So when you look at that, these things alone, these are the crypto markets. These are markets that people were kind of seeing as like opportunities, as hedges. Now, the one thing I want to talk about in the crypto market in general here is I do just put it out there. I do believe in the crypto market from a long-term perspective, but I also believe that if you are putting your money into these places preemptively and you need that money, you are going to be riding a roller coaster ride, and you're putting yourself in a position where you are being a speculator. Now, I have no problem with taking calculated risks and whatnot, with your investments. But that is if you are operating from an investment behavior perspective. Right now, with where we are, the one thing that I do know is when we look around and when we look at what's happening, I think what we're seeing is we're entering a time, where the market is going to go down, right? So if we look, and this is where we are right now. The market is kind of come up, come down. It's been all over the map, right? And I'm going to just share my screen here. But as you look at the market, as it's kind of gone down, come back up, I think, I don't know, it may look like this, but I think it's going to trend down, because remember, if we go back to the pandemic, right? The pandemic is going to be in green here. If this is 20,000 for the Dow Jones, and here we are at 36K at the high, we're there right to begin the pandemic, and we went all the way down there, and essentially straight down. Yep, that's accurate. We made this like V-shaped recovery, and it's been kind of like that, right? And so now we bounced back up, and ultimately, I think we have to go down to this area again. I think it just makes sense. There's been no real additional productive value in the economy since then. Inflation has gotten higher. That's putting more stress on average everyday household. We have situations where mortgage rates are getting higher. Cost of borrowing for everything across the board to counter inflation is getting higher. And so when you look at the economy, this is what I'm talking about when I say nothing is making any sense. And that leads to a level of uncertainty. And that's going to lead people to kind of question and figure out like, okay, what do I do, right? And so when I look at this and I go, okay, if you have that healthy level of skepticism, what I know to be true is that people can make a fortune in these times of uncertainty. But a lot of people are looking at this from a place of fear, but I look at this as an opportunity to kind of hit the reset button, because in times I've been saying this, and I talk about this, and I've been saying the same songs, 2010 when I first got into the business, all the way through 2022, right? I've been saying the same song because, if you think about my career path, I came in right after the Great Recession, and here we are in 2022, but all the while there have been different times, different events that have happened, but the market for the most part has been a bull market, right? So what's happened is the more this bull market has matured, right? The more this bull market has matured, the more, I guess, greed has set in. The more people seek what we would call speculation, right? Because they only see it going up. We have a generation of people that have really only seen the market go up. They didn't experience, they didn't enter the market until like here in 2011 or so, right? And that's it. If you're 30, 35 or under, you probably didn't start really investing or saving or thinking about your money till about 2011. So all this stuff that happened in 2008 through, all the way back to 2007, I guess, in that window, that doesn't even feel real. You didn't experience it. You don't know what it's like. And so you only know what it's like to experience a market. And so not only was the market going up, but interest rates were at all-time lows. I'll just write AT lows, right? So if interest rates were at all-time lows and we have the market going up with cheap interest rates and ultimately not just cheap interest rates, but money printing going at crazy levels, at all-time record highs, all-time record levels. I mean, think about it, just more money was printed because of the pandemic than, in a 5-month window than any other, like all the times previous in history, right? And so when you break it down, you start to realize like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest bubble of all time. And so we have to realize like what the biggest problem, let me get to that. The biggest problem that's happened in this window is people have lost financial principles and they've just started speculating based on bad behavior because of the fact that what's happened is, well, no, here I'm gonna do it this way. I'll just do it this way. What's happened is, and I talk about this a lot, is Americans right now, most of the world, but I can only speak to America because that's what I study, is we go out and we invest in high risk assets, right? So we built our foundation on this one little point of instability, right? Because we go out and what happens is we don't save, right? So if we're looking at save, so when we think saving, we think savings accounts, right? We think guarantees, we think liquid. When we think of high risk, we think investing. This is the biggest thing. Now, a lot of people don't realize that, if you are investing without having savings first, what you're doing is you're speculating. And unfortunately, 64% of Americans have less. What is the less sign? I think the less is pointing that way, right? Less than $2,000 in a savings account in case of emergency, right? So that's a pandemic right there to me. That if everybody talks about, the pandemic, the health pandemic that's going on, to me, the real pandemic is the savings crisis that we have in this country because people, even when they're investing, they're putting it in brokerage accounts, they're putting it in 401ks, IRAs, Roths, stuff of that nature. They don't have access to savings that are guaranteed because what happens is when the market goes bad, this loses half of its value, right? Or 30% of its value. Unemployment goes up. Unemployment goes up. You lose your job. You need to liquidate this money because you don't have any savings, right? So you need to liquidate this money just to survive. And so before you know it, your whole financial life falls over. And in a 10-year window, you got to start over and you lost a decade of productive capacity. And that is a massive, massive issue. Okay. So what I'm looking at right now, if I'm you, where the real opportunity exists right here is the market has recovered right now. I mean, as I'm filming this video, the Dow Jones went from 36 down into the 28 range. And mind you, it went all the way down to 19,173 in March of 2020. It's bounced back up all the way into the upper mid 30s, back down to 28. Now it's bounced back up to 33 today. I don't see this because of what I'm talking about, because what I started with here, like this just makes no sense. The world that we're living in right now, the The actual behavior makes no sense. So this is an opportunity to make sure you take some of the money, take some of the gains off the top and build it, get it safe, get it into a place where you have liquidity use and control of that money. You can access it, build your financial foundation, spend the next time, whatever it looks like, to build this financial foundation of security and liquidity and guarantees. Because here's what's gonna happen. If you do that, you will then now have the ability to then build on top of it. And here's the deal, if you do this, and this is what I coach people to, if you then go buy real estate or you invest for any kind of cash flow assets, all right, CFA for cash flow assets, what you then can do is create this cash flow, right? This will create cash flow. This cash flow, then you can go down and you can kind of build a sub foundation of your safe money, right? And as you build more cash flow, that becomes the foundation of your life, and it puts you in a situation where you have more safety, more freedom, more lifestyle with that. And ultimately, this is, to me, what financial freedom is all about. When you have the cash flow that meets the needs of what your monthly expenses are, now you're completely financially free. You utilize this foundation as your fortress to help implement a strategy. This is where infinite banking kind of comes into play. And you use that to feed your cash flow assets, which feed more cash flow. You use the cash flow to pay back. Let's see if I can do that with a different color. Use the cash flow to feed, or from the cash flow assets to build your cash flow here. You then use this cash flow to recapitalize your infinite banking policy. You use that to buy more real estate, create more, or cash flow assets, create more cash flow. You just keep repeating this process over and over and over again. And then eventually, if you want to get into speculative assets, right? Like crypto or anything like that, you can go take what we would call high risk investments. Listen, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going and investing and taking high risk investments. Lord knows I do it, right? The problem is if you go do these high risk investments before you do all this first, you are just not an investor. You're lying to yourself and you're telling yourself you're an investor. You are a speculator and you're putting yourself at risk of all this negative potential consequence over here. And so right now, what my encouragement to you is that there's an opportunity to take some wins off the table if you've been lucky enough to keep your money in, or if you weren't smart enough to take it out before it went down and now it's bounced back up. Do not buy into the fact. I think we just had another bear market rally. I think it was very driven by the government, by the elections, by the cheap money. The money has gotten cheaper. We released a lot of oil reserves last month. And so when we look at the oil reserve release, that reduced gas prices. That in turn has reduced inflation a little bit. It's giving people what I believe is a false sense of confidence. Now, once again, this is just my opinion. Don't take this as personal advice. This is just my opinion. I'm sharing with you why I believe and why I kind of think and do what I do. And so from that perspective, this is where I always say you have to align your money with your values and your beliefs. And you have to ask yourself, what do you really believe about the world and about where things are going, about taxes, about inflation, about the wage growth crisis, about the fact that we have a debt crisis in this country, the fact that we have unfunded liabilities crisis. And the question is, where is that going to come from? And the answer is, if you have a healthy level of skepticism, hence the title of this video, if you have a healthy level of skepticism about all that, my encouragement to you is now is the best time to start building your financial foundation. Because if you do that, what's going to happen over the next, 6 to 24 months, opportunity is going to present itself, right? And when opportunity goes down for the people who have their life structured like the chaos that most Americans do, opportunity is going to go up for the people who do what I'm talking about. And so rather than chasing risk right now, just sit tight, hold tight, protect your money, don't lose it, keep control of that money, right? And then when the opportunity gets good, now you can capitalize and take advantage and get great returns. So that is it. If you have any questions at all, comment in the comment section below. If you are looking about figuring out how you can implement this in your life, how you can do this, how you can kind of position yourself, build your financial foundation, utilizing a banking policy, reach out to me. There's a link in the description below. You can connect with me and my team. We are happy to give you a clarity call. We do it complimentary. It literally, no sales involved in it. We are just there to kind of guide you and serve you. And if it makes sense, then obviously for you and for us, we'll work together. But really, it's a call just to serve you and try to help you ultimately get more clarity about what you're after, what you're trying to do, understand how one of these banking policies might fit into your life, and go from there. So that's it. Have a blessed, inspirational day. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the bell, that way you're notified every time I launch a new video, and we'll talk soon.